What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the show that is Hoop Jargon. Man, we got a great one lined up to you. We're going to talk about Coach Prime. And I know some of y'all act like y'all don't want to talk about Coach Prime, but we're going to talk about Coach Prime. Let's go ahead and do it like only Hoop Jargon can do it the best. Y'all hit the like button on the way in, and we're going to go in all the way. All the way. Doggone it. So let me set the backdrop a little bit. Let me get a little music on. It's a nice little Monday night. It's the better things you can do with your life than holler at your boy. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming through. So let's go hit that like button. Let's go ahead and set that music in the backdrop. So let's go ahead and get to it, man. So Coach Prime has a huge problem with HBCU players not being drafted. I know it. Listen, I know. Shout out to Pimp C, man. Rest in peace, Pimp C, man. Pimp C and Bum B. You know what time it is. Matter of fact, before I get to the content, let's go ahead and get to the people out here in the streets. Between the Game Sports says in the building, man. Good to see you. You know my guy. And Will, if you want to hop up, let me know. I'll bring you in. And shout out to my guy Brian Turner putting up that fleur de lis for the for the New Orleans / Louisiana folks in the building. So appreciate you, my brother, being a part of this stream. So let's go ahead and talk about it, man. So. You know what's funny, man? So I've not done a Coach Prime video in a long time. And the reason I've not done it is because, everybody's kind of hopping on the wave. Everybody's saying any and everything about Coach Prime. And I'm amongst the ilk of guy who I want to talk about it when it makes sense. I want to talk about keynote parts when it makes sense. And as we know, the boy Coach Prime has had 51, y'all counted 51 players leave and go to the transfer portal. Now, some people want to pawn it off on, him not having the right program, him having a messed up situation. But as we see, Jackson State folks, I'm talking to you. There have been a lot of players in the transfer portal. This is kind of like the new wave now. It's like if us working people had an opportunity to put our services somewhere else with no repercussion, and just like, hey, listen, I like where I'm working, but I want to go there now. The transfer portal is more or less the liaison of that now. So the game is all messed up. The game is different now. And so now we're in a new world where we have to navigate in this space. But we'll do that. We'll do that. So with that being said, man, I want to juxtapose. Well, actually, I want to evaluate what Coach Prime said and kind of compare it with, Skip and Shannon said earlier. Shannon Sharp has been a guy who obviously went to Savannah State University, which is HBCU. He's an NFL Hall of Famer. And, he did the toils of what you would expect a NFL player to do and to be. And so I want to kind of, backdrop what they said and go forward with that. So without further ado, let me go ahead and do a screen share. And we're going to compare that, and I'm going to get my commentary. Thank y'all so much for being part of this experience that is Hoop Jargon Media Network. All right, so now I know I won't get no revenue stream for this because Fox Sports is very, very tough with this, but I'm going to do it anyway. But if you want a super chat, if you want a Cash App, you can. But let's get into it. Let's go.
Patriots in the draft. However, he was the only HBCU player selected in this year's draft.
So I guess what I'm ultimately saying is I know they're gonna flag this post. I won't make a dime off this, but it's all good. I want you guys to see my perspective based on what the mainstream media says, so we can get a realistic consensus of what's going on. Let's go.
Deion Sanders noticed. He tweeted, quote, "I'm ashamed of the 31 other NFL teams that couldn't find draft value in all of the talented HBCU players." Shannon, I know this strikes a chord with you.
Mm-hmm.
What's your reaction?
So as we get started, man, I want to kind of outline this. I know a lot of people have issues with Coach Prime. I'm like, okay, you left Jackson State. You came to a situation that's more posh for you, that's more comfortable for you, a Power 5 situation. So I know, let's just kind of throw that situation to the side and let's be realistic. So we know that, okay, he's left the situation. Now, it's almost like his residue still permeates over the HBCU landscape. So I want to kind of talk about this in that context. and not be so reminiscent on like, oh, well, he left me. Well, forget him. Pump brakes. Let's talk about it in the real context it's supposed to be talked about. Let's go.
To what Dion had to say.
I disagree with it. In 2020, the NFL instituted a combine for just predominantly HBCU players.
Yep.
All 32 teams shows up.
Mm-hmm. This year they did. Yes.
If that's the question, okay, who are those players that should have been drafted and what round should they have been drafted in?
47 went to this combine.
Who are the players that should have been drafted from the HBCUs?
Okay.
And what round should they have been drafted in?
All right.
Skip, this is not affirmative action because there were times that black kids couldn't get into university, so they had to apply. Jobs, there were jobs blacks couldn't get, so you had to implement it. But the NFL is a business. The NFL, if I don't give a damn what color you are, if you can help us win, that's why they take guys with questionable character.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Hey, listen, Greg Hardy, anybody? Greg Hardy played for my Dallas Cowboys, who I love so dearly. Y'all see how we rocking over here. Dallas Cowboys over everything. We had Greg Hardy like 5 years ago. Listen, man, talent precedes over everything. And Greg Hardy is a clown. This dude had domestic violence situations. If you listen to him talk, his his gesticulations, you know he's a guy who's not reputable. But Jerry Jones was willing to pay this man. Robert Kraft was willing to pay this man because his talent level. The Carolina Panthers, whoever was before that that Indian guy, was willing to pay him. So let's be realistic about what the NFL is. So I appreciate what Shannon comes in with because that is what the NFL is. It's about talent over everything. Let's keep going.
They want to win. Pro sports is a bottom line business. The only two things that are on the menu, wins and losses. Now, how many guys can we get? I don't give a damn the color. Can help us win. Skip. You look at the conferences. The SEC had 62, no surprise there. Big Ten. Skip. I think, hold on. All the top 10 players. Guess what, Skip? I'm gonna give you one guess. Guess what color every top 10 pick this year in the NFL draft was? Yeah, I give you.
And listen, man, I'm what Shannon's saying right now. I'm good with young black men, no matter where you went to school at. Y'all look at my background right here. I started at Stephen Foster State University. I graduated at Prairie View A&M. So PWI to an HBCU. Listen, man, I'm about young black men bettering their situation. So if you came from Jackson State, if you came from Prairie View, if you came from Alcorn, if you came from Morgan State, so be it. I'm all about young black men bettering their lifestyle. And so if you came from Maryland, if you came from Weber State, if you came from South Carolina, University of South Carolina, so be it. This is what is going to make you better at your next landing spot. So I'm all for it, man. Wherever you came from, I'm all for it, man. So it's a rough sled to deal with because I know, again, me being an HBCU alum, I know we want our boys to come from historically black colleges. I get that. But if it's not, I'm not gonna be the place where I'm gonna say to a person who didn't come from HBCU, but they're a black male, that, oh, well, I don't want you to succeed. No, never. Let's keep going.
You one guess. Black. 3 of the top 5 quarterbacks that were selected, 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah.
Guess what color they were, Skip?
Yeah. Okay. We can go 4. It was 4 out of 5.
Y'all hit that like button, man. Let's get more buys in here, man. Appreciate y'all being a part of this experience that is Hoop Jargon Sports Media Network.
First 4 out of 5, right?
Yeah.
Off the board were black quarterbacks.
Yes.
That's historic, right?
So, what am I missing, Skip? I get it. I went to an HBCU.
You did.
But Skip, I believe if the guys were
you saying Bolden won the best player. Yeah, facts. But he came from Florida State University. He was a guy who was very productive and he did good. I mean, honestly, Travis Hunter was a better cornerback than him. But I mean, it is what it is, man. So from what teams thought that their needs were, he filled a need. And I gotta celebrate that, bro. So it's not about who, in your opinion, who's the best player available. Because I think that cat for Florida A&M was probably the best HBCU prospect this year. But again, it's not for me to determine. It's for NFL teams to determine and evaluate. So I don't hate on that. I don't hate on that at all, like in any capacity. So let me say that going forward.
We're talented enough.
Yeah.
I don't believe the NFL. There was once upon a time that was the case. Not just at HBCUs. There were black quarterbacks that were good enough to play in the NFL that got overlooked. Skip, with the way that it is now and the amount of money that there are a few teams don't spend it, but most teams spend an absorbent amount of money on scouting. These guys get in their car and they drive around to the Grambling, to the Prairie Views, and all these other.
Man, shout out to Prairie View A&M University, man. Yeah, you know what's going on over here. My senior year, you see Prairie View, most improved player. You know, it's PV all day. You see what's going on back here. So shout out to Prairie View, man. I'm sorry. I'm a sucker for a Prairie View reference. Let's go.
Other institutions and trying to find that diamond in the rough. You'll get more credit for finding an HBCU guy that can play in the NFL than you will at Michigan. Hell, they got the best of everything. So they should be top of the line. But when you're at an HBCU, your offensive coordinator, probably your running back coach, maybe your wide receiver coach, and hell, he might even teach.
Oh, and matter of fact, let me give an extreme shout out to my guy, Anton Sewell, who has a internship with the Baltimore Ravens, man. He is currently the defensive coordinator at Morgan State University. He was, when I coached at Prairie View at basketball level, he was one of the football coaches. And I texted him today, man. Me and him text back and forth today. He is, having the opportunity to be a NFL coach, man. So salute to Anton Sewell, man. Y'all look him, he's been on the channel about 2 or 3 times. Listen, man, that dude is so solid. That's one of my when I listen to like football and I listen to perspective from an HBCU and a defensive standpoint, Anton Sewell is a stop. So salute to him for getting the opportunity to coach or get a fellowship internship with the Baltimore Ravens. So let me say that as we go forward.
Teach your class.
Yeah.
I'm gonna disagree with Prime on this one.
Okay.
I believe if the guys were talented enough to get drafted.
And listen, for Shannon to say he don't agree with Prime, y'all gotta know, man, Shannon Sharp is a very big, friend of Coach Prime, man. They're about the same age. He will generally go with everything that Coach Prime says. So for him to kind of deviate a little bit from what Coach Prime is saying, take heed to it. That's all I'm saying.
I believe they would have gotten drafted.
Okay. I love Deion Sanders. I love what he has done for Colorado already. He has put them back on the national football map.
Yes, he has. And Coach Prime has had 51 players. Y'all count it. 51. 50, 51 leave that program, and they still have that prominence. Y'all remember 2 weeks ago when they had the spring game, sold out 40 grand people, charging 10 grand a pop. So Coach Prime has definitely changed the culture there. So I want to kind of walk you down slowly and walk you down appropriately of what Colorado has going on right now.
Even thanks to their spring game, which was an event, thanks to Deion.
Right.
But he lost me on this one because, A, he did leave Jackson State for Colorado, so he's no longer affiliated with the HBCU. Right. They did have.
And listen, so what? You left Jackson State, again, HBCU, proud HBCU graduate 2 times over. Listen, man, I will go to bat for HBCU sports like nothing other. But if we are to be honest, if you're going to juxtapose Jackson State to Colorado, there's no comparison. There's no comparison. So, in my opinion, what Prime has done over at Jackson State, what Jackson State and at Colorado, he's like, okay, listen, I respect where I came from. And listen, I had a lot of guys over there who are quality guys, but I understand where I'm at right now. it's a better situation, which it is. So listen, we can sparse words. We can go through all the rigors of a conversation or argument, but there's no coach in America who will sit here and argue with you to say that, okay, Jackson State is a better job than Colorado. By no metric is that true. Let us go forward.
One kid drafted from Jackson State.
I think the Patriots took it with the last pick, right?
Yeah, Isaiah Bolden.
Okay.
Yes. But you know and I know, once upon a time, HBCUs were a pro pipeline.
Yeah.
It was like Hall of Fame city. It was just like
Eddie
the
G.
pipeline
Robinson.
was just,
Absolutely.
you could go down and
A.G.
find, there's a
Robinson
player, there's a
had it.
player.
Yeah, but it
and
was
there
give you to have integration.
Yep. There you
About
go.
that, brother.
Once they integrated the school, it was over.
It was over. I loved your note about the whole first round. It was all black. So you're telling me that at the combine, prejudice was operating against the HBCU kids because they didn't want to draft them because they're black? I think not. If they can play, they can listen.
They can play.
Listen, man, I know some people don't want to hear this, and that's just facts. Nobody's going to not draft you because you're black. Most of the NFL, I would say about 80% of the populace are black athletes. So it's not that. So I challenge you, unhinge yourself a little bit from that. Oh, they don't want black players. They don't want HBCUs. They want to marginalize HBCUs. No, they want the best of the best because, from my opinion, from my perspective, they want the best to go out there, suit up, and win. And they've only showed that to be so from inception to where we are right now.
Play.
This league doesn't care. It's maybe once upon a time it cared, but doesn't care anymore.
Yeah. I just skip. Walter Payton, Jackson State.
Yeah.
Shannon Sharp, Mel Blunt. I mean, the list goes on and on.
It's like a Hall of Fame list.
Steve McNair, Jerry Rice went to an HBCU.
Mississippi
I just
Valley.
believe with
Tall Jones.
the way that they
Jones,
scout. I believe, and Skip, now 16 guys did sign.
Yo, I met Ed Too Tall Jones last year. I covered the Super Bowl last year. Ed Too Tall Jones is a big MFer. That dude's shoulders are as big as his goddamn wall to wall. And I'm 6'7". He's about 6'7". But his body chemistry, god damn. Ed Too Tall Jones is such a big dude, man. And so, yes, coming from the HBCU ranks, a specimen, man. And so salute to that brother, man.
Be a free agency. Okay.
That's a good note.
Skip,
Yeah.
That's still an opportunity.
It is.
Draft, and sure, it is a huge accomplishment. Did I want to get drafted? Yes. But my number one goal was to play in the NFL.
Yep.
I didn't care what position I wanted to play. And if I had to go the free agent route, guess what? Somebody was going to give me a helmet and a shoulder pad. Now it's up to me.
It is. Yep. You're right. That's a good point. Okay. Big picture. Bryce Young goes number 1 overall.
Yes.
CJ Stroud goes number 2.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson goes 4th. And then we drop down to Will Levis, who is not a black quarterback, finally went in the second pick of the second round,
Mm-hmm.
to Tennessee. And yet I thought and was on the record that Hendon Hooker will be better in pro football than Will Levis. And Hendon Hooker went with the 5th pick in the 3rd round. Still a pretty high pick.
Last year they said HBCU had 4 players taken in last year's draft.
Okay.
So last year they took 4. This year, like, well, you know what? We took too many last year. Let's only take 1 this year. Come on, man. They don't do that.
Shannon makes a great point. That's not, so the narrative goes like, oh, well, it's a certain amount of people. No, in the draft room, they're like, I want the player that is going to elevate our program, the value and the pick. So when some people just get so overzealous, like, oh, well, they just trying to pick who they want. No, they want to pick who's going to make them win. Why is that? Because if you don't pick the person who's going to make you win, you get fired. So I really have a hard time understanding the logic of some people who say that, it's favoritism or you picking somebody just because of this, that, and third. No, you picking somebody because you want to win. So let me say that as we go forward. Let's go.
And if you're good,
I hit that like button.
find you. It's just the way it is, Skip, okay?
Yeah.
The teams, the scouting department, the scouts didn't deem that the player that they scouted was worthy of getting drafted.
Yeah.
We'll give you an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all you want is an opportunity.
That's all. Trust me, if Deion gets the players to come play for him at Colorado that I think he will, he's got a bunch already.
Right.
But in the future.
Listen, man, Coach Prime is going to kill it at Colorado. Year one, that's up for debate. But in totality, this dude going to kill it at Colorado, man. And some of y'all who just can't let go, you just can't let go. It's going to be a hard thing for you to swallow and to accept, and no problem. Listen, man, this life permits you all type of emotionality, all type of evaluation. But just know this dude will succeed as a coach. Mark your words. Hoop Jargon told you first.
The near future, it will be an NFL pipeline out of Colorado, because they won't care what color they are. They'll just care they can flat out play football.
But you're gonna have to. I mean, you look at the Georgias and you look at the Alabama.
Yep.
It's the resources. It's the coaches. You got an outside linebacker coach, an inside linebacker coach, a safety coach, a corner coach.
Bingo.
You know, a defensive end coach, a defensive tackle. Skip, you just have so many. The HBCU.
It's the resources. And listen, man, as a coach, I coach at the HBCU level, man. Budget matters. If you don't have the capacity to have staff to cover certain things, guess what? They get omitted. And it's almost like the talent has to basically usurp the lack of coaching prowess, as it were. Listen, man, like that's just the reality of the situation. So at these bigger programs, you have more personnel to circumvent your parts of your personnel that you don't have to, staff for. So it's just funny to see people say like, "Oh man, well, you saying this program better?" Like, well, yeah, it's better because you have more staff to accommodate your shortcomings. And so at the HBCU level, unfortunately, we just don't have that. Let's keep going.
HBCUs don't have that.
Yep.
And so the guys that do get drafted, they are immensely talented.
Yep.
Because they didn't have the resources and they didn't have the access to the training and nutrition like they have at the Power 5 schools.
Yep.
What don't they have? You can go get a haircut. You can do everything that you would do outside the building at Alabama, at Oregon, at Ohio State, at Michigan.
Yep.
HBCUs don't have that. But I still believe, Skip, guys that are good enough will get an opportunity. They might not get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
But Skip,
like you said, man, it's been from Jackson State alone, 4 guys been signed as undrafted free agents. So you have a chance to go and be an impressionable person to that program and earn a check to have long-term money. Now, as far as the long-term, I guess wide scale, HBCU scale, I don't know how many players it was. I saw like FAMU had 2 guys and things of that nature. I can't say the exact total, but guys have opportunities right now as it stands as free agents. So let the record show that.
There are a lot of guys that go undrafted and turn out to be great.
Yeah.
But
Philip Lindsay, one guy I think of, he went to, ironically, University of Colorado about 4 years ago. And I'm gonna give you a good backstory on Philip Lindsay, and hopefully I get him on the story. He currently plays for the XFL right now, I believe. He played at University of Colorado. He's a Boulder, Colorado kid. Well, Denver, Colorado kid. So he's a native kid. His rookie year was in the Pro Bowl of that nature. Again, undrafted. His sister, Cherie Lindsay, was a volleyball player at the Prairie View A&M University. And so he has the tie there. So that's a very athletic family. And as a matter of fact, Cherie Lindsay is the current head coach at Prairie View A&M. It's her first year, inaugural year. So listen, man, it's talent everywhere and abundant. And these storylines are very, very interesting when you kind of get to, when you start to put the X's to the O's. So to speak. So you can be a Philip Lindsay, man, a guy who is undrafted, and you can go to the highest levels of the National Football League, man. So I want to inject that in the conversation as we go forward. Let's go.
But I don't believe that the NFL just like say, you know what? Nah, we not going to recruit down there because they don't have it. I don't believe that. I don't believe that to be the case. And if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I just don't believe it.
Okay. Well, Dion has a young man by the name of Travis Hunter.
Beast. Travis Hunter may be the new thing that breaks the mold with as far as being a receiver and a cornerback, being a dual threat, player. Travis Hunter may be that new guy. Just saying.
Who can play receiver and or cornerback. Watch how high he eventually goes in the draft because he can flat out change.
Travis Hunter will be a top 5 pick. Take it to the bank. Who can tell you first?
A team's future.
Skip, if you can play, you can play.
Right.
I mean, Mel Blood, Aeneas Williams, Michael Strahan. I mean,
it's a Hall of Fame parade.
Go look at the early guys that was in the Hall before schools got integrated. Yeah. Go look at the Hall of Famers in the NFL and see where they came from. The Maryland Eastern Shores, the Grambling, the Southerns, the Alcorns, the Jacksons, the South Carolina States.
Bob Hayes.
Yes.
Talk to him, Shannon.
Yeah.
FAMU.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tennessee State. Mm-hmm. That's where they came from. But integration changed that. Because the guy's like, man, if I play on TV for the 80,000 and maybe, mom got a refrigerator out of the deal, you know what I'm saying? It was different.
Yeah. I got it.
Now, Angel Reese, a $1.5 million NIL deal.
Good for her. She deserves it. Yeah. She'll earn it back.
Yeah.
Okay. This to me, where it get a little goofy. What does that do with HBCU sports? Angel Reese plays for LSU. I don't get the correlation at all. I know Shannon is a more liberal leaning guy, and me, I'm more of a middle to leaning conservative guy. I just don't understand the correlation, but he's throwing it out there because he kind of his little juices flowing. I don't see how that correlates at all, what he's talking about, but whatever. Angel Reese played for LSU, homies. Like, it does not correlate at all with your HBCU preamble. Let's go.
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That stuff matters. These kids like, okay, I get an opportunity. Somebody gonna give me $300,000-$400,000. I can help mom out before I even go make some real money.
You can't. Okay.
I
know how much you love and respect Prime.
Yeah, but I disagree with it. But we disagreed a lot before. We'll probably disagree. But we definitely disagree on this one.
Yes, sir.
So there it goes, man. So as we see, with Prime having opportunity to bring in these guys who, and shout out to me, Mike, man. I'm sorry, I'm getting some comments. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you, me, Mike. So I want to highlight this. I'm gonna keep this low because I know people don't like long ass streams. So I'm gonna keep it as short and digestible as I can do. But for the premise of this, with Coach Prime having issuance with guys not being drafted, I think that's more or less him posturing, and that's not necessarily him, from what he's actually doing, because what he's actually doing obviously has nothing to do with the actual HBCU experience. So I wanted to point that out as we go forward. Miek Mike also says the only thing Shannon Sharp can teach me is how to lift weights and get a white girl. Anything else? Hey man, Miek Mike, get out of there, man. Get out. I ain't saying you lying, but go and get out of there. But at any rate, let's see. Okay, Miek Mike also says, I can't wait till white corporate jobs only employ black people from Power 5 schools. Shannon Shaw will be the first one. Get out of there, Miek Mike. Well, but as Miek Mike just, I don't know, maybe you're serious, but with that sentiment, that's kind of what people are. It's like, man, to what end are your sports take, or do your sports take go to? So it's easy to say like, oh yeah, man, this, that, blah, 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 blah. But will you really put your everything to that? Will you really say that, like, listen, man, I stand on that, and so if what you're talking about, that's what I'm about. And I would beg to differ that Shannon Sharp is about that life, to Miek Mike's point. So let me say that. So at any rate, man, so going back to what we're saying, Coach Prime has a huge problem with HBCU players not being drafted. And all I'm gonna say is, man, listen, man, things are cyclical. Things are not always consistent. There's some times where, certain players are, in the midst of getting drafted, getting attention. There's certain times it's not. I told you how my conversation with my guy, and shout out to Anton Sewell, who's a current defensive coordinator at Morgan State. He has this internship with the Baltimore Ravens. Listen, man, those things are coming. One of my good friends, KJ Black, current coach for the LA Rams, doing his thing currently, formerly at Florida A&M, and he played, football at Prairie View A&M, my alum. Also, he coached at Prairie View A&M. So those lanes will exist. Those lanes will exist, and so I know it's hard to pitch to people. Like, you don't want to have like the slow roll of success, but that's reality. The slow road to success is reality, and I wanted to say that as we go forward. Let's make laugh. Shout out to my guy D Live says, and the ones who got drafted were transfers from FBS. Yeah, so it's like, so what? How do you want to play this game? Because if we be honest, James Houston IV was a transfer from University of Florida. So how do y'all want to play this game? Isaiah Bolden was a transfer from Florida State. Tavares Jackson, rest in peace. Tavares Jackson, back 15 years ago, third round draft pick for the Vikings. Tavares Jackson transferred from the University of Arkansas to Alabama State University. So, I mean, how do y'all want to play this game? Listen, I'm a HBCU guy till I die. But if we want to be honest, let's be for real about what we have. Just saying. Brian Turner said, okay, y'all talk to each other. Never mind. Okay. All right. Y'all talk to each other. So with that being said, man, again, I want to keep this stream live. I want to keep this live tight and concise. I won't make it super long, but I just want you just kind of just ruminate in your mind, like, what makes this situation prevalent? And in my opinion only, to share it may not have been enough talent to be drafted, but Jackson State had 4 guys who have NFL contracts right now, 3 of which who have NFL unsigned contracts right now. And ultimately, listen, I don't care how you get there, how you get to the show that is NFL. You go there and produce, who cares? Who cares? And I've seen, and shout out to Light on Sports, they've shown so many players who are there right now, who signed UDFA contracts. They're there. That's all I care about, man. Young black man, better in that situation and get into that situation where you can be a millionaire going forward. That's all I care about. By hook or by crook, it is what it is. Me and Mike said, I thought Shaq Davis, Aubrey Miller, and Isaiah Bolden were the draft. But yeah, so it's also a guy from Southern. I forget his name, man. Linebacker from Southern was also who I thought would be drafted. I thought DeJounte Warren, Nugget, would be a guy too. But I mean, he got signed as well. So I mean, it is what it is, man. At the end of the day, nobody cares when you get to the end point. Nobody. Oh well, what round were you drafted in? Who cares? Tom Brady, who is, I mean, at this point, I don't think it's any argument. He's the best quarterback that ever played in the NFL. 6th round draft pick. It is what it is. So ultimately, I'm gonna land the plane here. I want guys to appreciate and understand that HBCU guys, for whatever reason in 2023, don't have the same opportunity as other people. That's okay. But you're going to be in a situation where you have a chance to prove who you are and get to the next level. And that's all I care about. I want young brothers to have the opportunity to excel and have the opportunity to earn the maximum amount of dollars of what, your prowess is. And I think it's there. So shout out to Prime for bringing more, awareness, because his influence is bigger than pretty much anything else, in our HBCU space. But at the same time, I'm appreciative of where we are and where we're going to go. Let's see. Brian Turner says, my classmate, NBA program, Cam Peterson. What position does Cam play? I personally don't mind a 4 or 5 star athletes coming to HBCUs 2 years and transferring out. I think we become a new JUCO. Hey, and that's a very interesting premise, because I know some people don't want to accept that as being a actual thing. But if HBCUs in some capacity could be the next quote unquote junior college because of the fluidity of transferring, so be it. Because there's JUCOs like San Jack, Butler County Community College. What's another good JUCO university? Damn it. Trinity Valley. So there's some places that are like basically farm systems to I'll give you another one. Midland Community College. There's some places that consistently put people in the professional ranks as a bridge between high school and college. University. So if HBCUs in some capacity could be that, so be it. So be it. I'm with that. I'm with that. Brian says, Cam is the linebacker you were speaking of. He got signed by Boston. Okay. Yeah. Got you. Yes, I mean, listen, man, it's no shame at all with that. When you get there, nobody cares. The real question is, when you get there, what do you do with your time? So I'm a big proponent for, listen, you come in there from the HBCU ranks, you earn your piece, you earn your keep, rather, you go do your thing. So like with my Dallas Cowboys, Marquise Bell coming from FAMU. Marquise Bell, his first year, earned a reputation for himself. And so I assume, playing free safety, he's gonna do it again. And I know the Cowboys, we signed, I forget his name, another linebacker from FAMU. Now we have a pipeline now. And salute to that, man. I know on the front end we want to have the flashy, signings and draft selections. But I mean, listen, man, if that's not the case, it's not the case. But what's your end result? That's what I care about. And shout out to Erica. Good to see you, Miss Erica. Say Aubrey Miller went to the Dolphins. Yes, I saw him get signed by the Dolphins. I think Aubrey Miller is going to be a beast in the NFL. Maybe not immediately, but if James Houston did so well, I can see Aubrey Miller doing well as well, man. She said, yeah. Hey, back now. Also keep in mind, one of the biggest issues in HBCU is the quality of assistant and position coaches. It plays a factor in the player development. Absolutely. So basically, more staff equals better development. In our HBCU ranks, you don't always have the staff support. So if you don't have the staff support, obviously you got to kind of depend on the player having that that moxie or having that ability to step up and be better. So if that's not the case, we got to give these HBCU programs credit for lack of resources, but doing a lot. Again, I got to go back to my guy, my boy Anton Sewell, who has this fellowship situation with the Ravens. He was at Bowie State doing great things with that program. We talking about CIAA. We talking about D2 football. And those guys developed well. 2 of his guys went to Southern University this year. Now, I'd be lying to you to say if I follow what they did all the way, but I did a video about them before they got there. But these are quality, defensive backs that they went to Southern coming from Bowie State. So I'm a big proponent of let's celebrate and accentuate all these people. So I'm gonna drop the link, man. You guys want to come in and drop some information or perspective about that, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to do so. It's been a minute. You know me. I don't do panels like that, but today I got you. You want to drop some game? If you want to drop some knowledge, come on up and I will do that for you. And shout out to Winthrop in the building, man. Good to see you, bro. Let's see. Brian says, yeah. What's the deal, Brian?
How you doing, man?
Doing good, fam. How you, man?
Yes, sir. Well, first off, it's always great to be here, man. This is an awesome platform. You're doing an awesome job, bro.
Nice,
Really
man.
appreciate what you're doing. But first things first, man. God bless to the guys in HBCUs who got drafted or got picked up as undrafted free agents. They're the 1%. They're the 1%. However you want to put it. Very few athletes make it that far. Very few athletes play football at the highest level, regardless of what level that is. But I think one thing we need to understand when it comes to HBCU football, especially, these are small schools. It's just like you played in Texas. You're from Houston. Houston
Mhm.
is a city known for big school football, basketball, baseball, track and field. The big schools are always going to have the first dibs and all the best athletes in the city.
Mhm.
Very, very rarely in like for example, you'll hear more about Houston North Shore than you will hear about uh Yates High. Not shout out to Yates High. A lot of my friends went there. Yates is a small school. So what I'm trying to say is that HBCUs, it's not like these schools are sad. These are small schools. They have less resources. They have less financial flexibility. But one thing that I think that can be done, because like I said before, the majority of HBCUs are in the FCS, meaning that for the most part, most of these HBCUs, for the most part, they have about the same amount of resources as a North Dakota State or a South Dakota State. What I'm trying to get to is this. The biggest thing is that I think HBCUs need to allocate resources more. Because, like I said, a lot of HBCUs might have great head coaches, but a lot of these schools, no matter what conference they are, I think one of the big issues is coaching development. I think the reason why North Dakota State, South Dakota State, App State, James Madison, their main advantage over HBCUs isn't talent. I think it's coaching, and I think it's player development. That's just my assessment because these schools are getting more guys drafted, and these guys do not test better than HBCU athletes do. On they don't test better in a huge facet than HBCU athletes at these combines and these pro days. Forgive my rambling. Go ahead.
No, no, you good, man. I think the points you're making are valid, and it's something that, from a totality standpoint, we got to talk about because I think, and I watch a lot of comments. I watch a lot of people's opinions on things of that nature. I think a lot of people just don't understand the totality of the. I guess what pro scouts are looking for, and they just kind of go off. Oh, it's a name I know. Yeah, he's supposed to be there. No, it's not quite like that. So it's not quite like that. So I think your insight is good. For me, we start cutting teeth, as it were, and we start getting to like what exactly are or is this whole thing that is, HBCU talent. I know you're a big proponent of MEAC talent over SWAC talent, and as it stands right now, SWAC talent prevailed, been 1-0. But you know what I mean. So I want you to speak a little bit more further going forward. What do you think HBCU, programs like, SWAC, MEAC, CIAA talent, with the transfer portal being so prevalent now, what should be the aim now going forward, in your opinion?
Recruit more speed. Speed is the name of the game, and also I think that when it comes to football's a different game. Football's a different game, but my biggest thing is just focus more on player development. I don't. At the end of the day, like I mentioned before, the majority of HBCU athletes or FCS level athletes are lower, which means that you're not going to be able to get a Travis Hunter every cycle, even if you have a famous coach like a Deion Sanders. It's just not a sustainable model. But the biggest thing HBCUs need to focus on is the same thing that, as I mentioned before, North Dakota State, South Dakota State do the same thing they're doing. Maybe not on their scale, but focus as much as possible on player development. And that is, like I mentioned before, you just got to hire better coaches. You got to hire guys that you have to hire more efficient and effective coaching staff. You can't just hire guys who used to play. You have to hire guys that are bought into the system, and you have to hire guys that really understand the importance of, you know, you may not have a bunch of guys who run a 4.4 low. You might have a bunch of guys who are probably, you know, there's a reason why the Power 5, the Group of 5 looks so much physically different than the FCS. You're not going to be able to get those freak athletes all the time, but you have to just master where you're at. Once you master where you're at, I believe HBCU football becomes a more respectable brand.
Okay. And I like Eric's comment, hire Ed Reed, because Ed Reed about 3-4 months ago was a big linchpin of a discussion, you know what I mean, about him having harsh critiques about what's going on at Bethune-Cookman and what have you. I'll be honest with you, man. Like most of my good coaching friends who you know have gone on from the HBCU level and elevated. I know some of y'all don't like that term. The whole thing is, man, you building better relationships and you getting access to better kids, and that's the name of the game. So in that same vein, if you can get access to better kids and marketing your program the same way, I think since 2020, I gotta give Prime his credit. I know some of y'all don't like Coach Prime. It is what it is.
Shout out to Coach Prime.
Man, listen, I love Coach Prime. But he's opened that ear for a lot of players who normally would not consider the HBCU experience. And coming from a guy, my first year, you guys see my pennants on the wall. First year I went to Stephen F. Austin State University. So I'm a third generation Prairie View graduate. I never thought I would go to Prairie View. I was like, nah, hell no, I ain't going to Prairie View. But with the SFA at first, went to JUCO 2 years, and when I went to Prairie View, I'm like, damn, I'm at home. I'm at home at Prairie View. Like Prairie View was the best, but you have to be able to pitch that to. So I got that pitch at 21. I should have got that pitch at 18, because that's obviously the freshman, level of what college, eligible people are. So I think if HBCUs can flood the market on that level of potential students, that'll yield better results.
Absolutely. As you mentioned before, the transfer portal has changed college football probably forever. It's basically turned college football to professional football.
Fact.
Guys can become free agents basically, and I think that right now I'm seeing HBCUs do a relatively solid job. Like you mentioned before, 2 Bowie State DBs came to Southern and they contributed mighty heavily. In fact, one of the guys I actually met him recently in the weight room. So with that, I think HBCUs are doing a good job, and I don't think a lot of these coaches are unrealistic about their expectations of getting guys. I think a lot of these coaches are pretty realistic. Basically going in the portal and finding finding guys who might be 3 stars who were talented athletes but maybe didn't peak in high school, or maybe finding guys who I wouldn't call them bust, but they were former 4 stars who, for example, like a Ryan Perilou, like a guy like that.
Ryan Perilou, damn, he supposed to be Vince Young 2.0.
I actually know Ryan. Ryan's a good man. He's a man of God now. Ryan, well, he didn't go to Nation. He went to Jacksonville State. I'm from Homer.
But he's supposed to go like to LSU, right?
Yeah, he went. Yes, sir.
Texas.
Yes, sir. He went to.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember him very, very, very prevalent.
Yeah, Ryan's a man of God now, man. Ryan's a local legend. I'm from Homer. That's like right down the road from where he's from. He's from Laplace. And
okay.
Ryan didn't work out at LSU for reasons you can go Google. But he ended up at an FCS school mainly because, just unfortunately life happens, and not even just him. There was another running back who played for an HBCU. I'm sure you probably remember the guy, the Georgia running back in 2011 when they almost beat Alabama in the SEC championship game. Antonio, what was that guy's name? Crowell, something like that.
Yeah.
He went to an HBCU after he left Georgia. So the thing is, what HBCUs could market is be a second chance to a lot of athletes. Be a second chance to a lot of athletes. I mean, I think that it's a beautiful story when a young man, especially a young man with so much promise, doesn't make it at a Power 5, especially an SEC or powerhouse school, end up having to go to a smaller school, and And also Montez Ford. Montez Ford was at he was at South Carolina, ended up going to South Carolina. And I think he was at South Carolina State or something like that.
Okay.
That's way back in the day, back in like 08, 09.
You remember Victor Ike? He went
Of
to
course.
UT and then went to Southern.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
No, so I think it's a beautiful story when as an athlete you transfer to a smaller school. There's a guy played football at LSU. He's at Southern right now. He's a linebacker and he's gonna play because that's the same reason why a lot of these FBS guys got drafted ahead of the HBCU guys, because when you're in these FBS programs, you're getting better training, and also the biggest thing that nutrition. Let's just face the honest facts, man. Like FBS nutrition programs are the key factor difference between HBCUs and even the smallest FBS schools. I mean, nutrition is what turns boys into men. You know that. You play college sports. Nutrition and strength conditioning is what turns young boys into college athletes.
Right.
Unfortunately, HBCUs, they have nutrition programs, but they're not nearly as advanced as even the smallest FBS programs. So that's one thing I have to consider as well.
Hey, when you start lying, I'll tell you you're lying. So
yes, sir.
You definitely good.
I would never lie to you, because the thing is, I'm like anybody else, man. I grew up playing ball my whole life too, and for one, I love Black people, man. I love our culture. I love who we are. I love others. I love others as I love myself. But I'm also an honest person. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a liar.
That is 100% respectable. Because same here, man. Like, I love being a Black dude. I don't have any reservations or trepidations at all about who we are. But I'm a realist. So if we're gonna cut teeth, let's start cutting teeth. And let's get to the roux, as it in Louisiana, what they say. Let's get down to the roux
or the lanyap.
Huh?
The lanyap. The extra.
The lanyap?
Yeah, the extra.
There you go, man. So hey, listen, man, you gotta get down to what it is. Eric says relationships make a world difference. Prom and ed are exception at this. Yes, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, so some people, have their opinions about them, and that's fine. And I said this early in the stream. Well, I said on my guy Will stream. I saw a person come on, because there's a lot of like Coach Prime streams now.
I'm sure.
Just go. I ain't gonna lie. Someone's just goofy. It was about Coach Prime potentially getting Shane Hooks, from Jackson. Obviously, he just decommitted from Ole Miss. So people saying, "Oh, well." It was a lady. It was a Jack State. Sorry, Jack State people. They was like, yeah, man, I'm so tired of Coach Prime. And man, he all by himself and blah blah blah. I'm so sick of him. I'm like, but you want a stream that is about Colorado and Colorado football with Coach Prime, but you over here, but you are allegedly over him. Make it make sense. To quote Tommy Sotomayor, make it make sense.
Shout out to Tommy.
Shout out to Tommy. Make it make sense that you over him, but you over here in a sector that has nothing to do with Jackson State, but you talking about how you're a Jackson State alum and you're over this dude. Like, so it is funny to see the residue, as it were.
Can I tell you something hilarious?
Yeah.
I've been watching HBCU football as much as I've been watching regular college football my entire life. And when I talk to a lot of these quote unquote Jackson State fans, it's like I'm speaking a foreign language to them. It's like, did y'all start watching HBCU football last year? Like, when I start talking, like when I go all the way back to I could just go back to the mid 2000s, and a lot of these people have no idea what I'm talking about. Like, I can go into how during the mid 2000s, Texas Southern and Prairie View were the powerhouses in the SWAC for a time being. People forget all about how Texas Southern was winning SWAC titles during the mid 2000s, or how, like how Jackson State was a powerhouse during the 90s, but they kind of fell off. They've never really been a sad program. They're a blue blood.
Yeah, for sure.
All Prime really did was resurrect the program. At one point, the greatest of all time played there. The greatest running back who ever lived played there. Like,
for sure.
And
Walter Payton, man.
And when I was coming up, man, Jackson State was always known as a very difficult win for Southern in Alcorn State. They were never sad. In fact, I never really knew outside of no offense to Valley, but they know Valley was really the only I would call bad football school. Even Prairie View had good seasons every once in a while, but
Yeah.
you know, like I said before, when people think HBCU football, I'm not gonna lie, we're a little biased. We automatically think they're sad because they're not powerhouses as far as big school football. But no, if you go back in HBCU football, these are well coached. These are well-oiled machines. And the thing is, what's happening is a lot of quality assistant coaches have left these schools, which is why you're seeing so many guys get looked over. They're not getting developed quite as well nowadays. That's what I believe is going on.
No, I appreciate that perspective all the way, and I think it's fair and it's balanced. So it's funny you mentioned dang it, I just lost my train of thought. You just talked about Valley and like some of the schools who are not up to snuff. Yeah, man. Funny backstory, man. I remember my last year coaching. We were coaching against Mississippi Valley, and like some of the players, the football players, I coach basketball. Some of the football players like, man, yo, can you put a word in? Because we were like fresh off a SWAC championship. Shout out to KJ Black, man. He's a coach, for the LA Rams now. But KJ Black was our quarterback at the time. And it's like, man, can you put us down with the Prairie View coaches? And that nature, man. Because even though you got, Willie Totham, you got, Jerry Rice, so on and so forth, those are harder programs to recruit to.
Mm-hmm.
It's just rougher. So it is a hierarchy, as you kind of we're kind of alluding to, with the HBCU landscape or the SWAC landscape, as it was.
Well, it's like what you told me months ago, man. It's geographic. Prairie View and Texas Southern are in one of the most beautiful cities in America.
Come on, man.
Mississippi Valley State is not a bad school, but it's in Mississippi. Southern's located in one of the nation's top party schools. Yep. Alcorn State's located, if I'm not mistaken,
nowhere. Lorman, Mississippi.
It's not really a bad area. It's actually one of the nicer parts of Mississippi. So you can get guys to go there. Jackson State's in Jackson, Mississippi. It's extremely rural. They have to work a little harder.
Have you been to Alcorn before?
I've been there before. I didn't think it was bad.
It's no hotels out there, bro. Like when we coached, we had to stay in Natchez, which is yeah, bro.
My ex-girlfriend was from there.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to deal with Alcorn, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, but anyway,
45. That's a 45-minute drive to where.
Hell yeah!
Wow,
it's rough. So with Alcorn, now I won't put Alcorn in the same stage as Valley. Valley is kind of on its own island. Itabena is very hard to deal with. But it's funny. In my hotel, I met Tim Reed, who was the father on Sister with Tia.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So there's some life out there, but I remember seeing like pink Cadillacs and stuff, man. Like Itabena is hard. If I'm a head coach, if I'm gonna pick a place, Itabena will probably be the last place I pick. Them in like probably Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Probably the two places.
I didn't think Pine Bluff was that. I played against Pine Bluff High in baseball when I was in high school. I played against them. I was like a sophomore. I did not think they were that bad. In fact, to be honest with you, I've seen worse places than Pine Bluff. Now,
in the SWAC though?
Yeah, huh?
In the SWAC though? Well, okay. I would say this: Huntsville, Alabama. I would probably put it as one of the worst places too.
Huntsville, Alabama is a rough place.
It's rough now.
Huntsville, Alabama. If you make it out of there, you a gangster.
Yeah.
That's like, and I grew up in South Baton Rouge. Like I'm from the New Orleans area. Grew up in South Baton Rouge. I went to Huntsville. I went there for a little field trip we took there in space camp, and then I went there for there's a camp out there. I was in the Army. We went out there for training. Dog, I said, why we need to go to the camp? The damn town could be enough training for us. God damn.
Yeah.
Town could be good enough training for us, man. You gotta be something to survive out here, man. Like, sheesh.
It's rough, man. It's rough. So I mean, I have a pretty decent SWAC landscape. I mean, my perspective is like 10 plus years ago.
Yes,
so,
sir.
I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and purport to know that I know anything beyond 2013, but I would venture to say that my observations have not changed much since then. So let me say that.
God is good though, man. These schools, God is good. These schools have done beautiful things for people, especially educational wise. I believe a lot of student athletes from HBCUs are some of the best, most successful people out here because you not only you humble, you've seen the good side and the bad side of life, but I just think that I think we need to look at the bigger picture. I think that we need to understand that HBCUs weren't created to be football factories. They weren't created for the sole purpose of putting people in the league. They were created so that way African Americans can have the same education opportunities as others, So don't get me wrong, HBCUs have a significant place in history for producing athletes, of course.
Sure.
But we also need to understand it takes a lot of money to have extremely outstanding athletic programs, money that a lot of smaller schools, not just HBCUs, don't have. I've been to the campus of some of these FCS powerhouses, and I'll tell you, it's not that much better than HBCUs. They're just slightly bigger. So I want people to understand this.
Agreed.
I've been to Stephen F. Austin. Southern played against them one year. It's a good looking school, but I wouldn't say it's a.
Agreed.
Yeah, man. Like I've been to
I went to SFA, so agreed.
Yeah, I've been to Stephen F. Austin a few times. Southern played a basketball game against them. I went out there. My little cousin played basketball for Southern back in the day. And what I want people to understand, man, master where you're at. Like my old sergeant major in the military, I was in the military. My old sergeant major used to tell me all the time, Brian, just master where you're at. Stop trying to get to this place and think you'll be this. Master where you're at. Do the best you can with what you got, and trust me, things are gonna turn out all right. You got, man, people from HBCUs got signed as non-drafted free agents. North Dakota State is one of the most dominant college football programs that ever existed. And they got dudes who didn't even get a fucking tryout. Part of my
No, you good, man.
Come on, man. Like North Dakota State is the Alabama of FCS football. They would you saw what happened last year? They destroyed North Carolina A&T, the cream of the crop of HBCU sports of the 21st century. The greatest HBCU football program of the 21st century. The game was over at halftime. North Dakota State did not have one. No, they had one dude get drafted. That's the first time they've had a dude get drafted in the early rounds since Carson Wentz. I think Easton Stick, their all-time leading passer with the Chargers right now.
No, Trey, the quarterback.
Trey Lance was the first round. Yeah.
He was after Carson Wentz.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
I got what you're saying.
Have a hard time putting dudes in the league because they understand they don't have the resources. They get by through extremely good coaching and through tradition because they might not have because man, North Dakota is not a rich state, man. They don't. That's not a state full of people who are making six figures like that.
Hell no.
No, man. Like what they're doing is Alcorn State. Alcorn State they're a great example of what good coaching does. Alcorn State has won at least 9 games every year since 2011. Why? They're the best coach team in the SWAC. They prioritize good coaching, not just the head coach. Their whole coaching staff is good coaches. But that's just me. That's just me, really. I want people to look at the bigger picture, man. Look at the bigger picture.
I'm with you, man. And shout out to No Guarantees, man. He put $10 on it. He says, hate to say it, but getting a passport today is equivalent of top athletes doing the PWI in the 70s and onward. HBCUs grad here, they have to compete for the talent. Yeah, I mean, it's a thing that has to be on your dossier as far as intentional and concurrent. You have to always be understanding that, listen, man, you have to go out there and achieve this talent. Now, I like that Prime is kind of open that window up. Like, you can go and get these guys. Just talk to them. Because I've had stories of dudes who are scared to talk to top talent just because I'm Southern, or I'm Grambling, or I'm Prairie View. Nigga, talk to them.
These are grown men, by the way.
Yeah, these are grown men who have a complex talking to 18-year-olds. Because at the end of the day, man, listen, 18-year-olds have a lot of voices in their ear that they don't necessarily know where to go. Man, talk to them, because you can basically be that person. You may, so as a salesman in real life, you may have that word that just resonates to them better than anybody else that they ever talked to. Because let's be honest, a lot of these black athletes don't have fathers like that.
No, that's a story for another day.
Exactly. So I don't want to go delve too far into that. But if you talk to them in a way that they've never been talked to, and you have genuine intentions, guess what? You can sign these dudes who you quote unquote have no business to sign. So with that being said, let me give no guarantees his due. Give him that dollar bill special, man. Money. Yeah. Money.
Shout out to Prime Time.
Yeah.
Shout out to Prime Time, man. Rest in peace, Shad, baby.
Man, hold up, man. So shout out to No Guarantees. Thanks so much, brother, for contributing to the stream. Y'all can't see. I see you and SKC talking, but yeah, man. So I wanted to kind of just talk on that, because in this space, a lot of people say a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
People have very poor scope, in my opinion, about what college sports actually is, and what this new transfer portal presents. So I just wanted to step in front of like what this landscape actually looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what from a pro perspective, because listen, it's almost like a double-edged sword. You can love what the transfer portal is because these guys have mobility. You can go where you want to go because these coaches be on some whole shit. No problem. But at the same time, going to the next level, some coaches may think if you bounce from program to program that you are a person who I cannot rely on.
And they have every right to feel.
Maybe that may have some forbearance on how these draft picks are selected. Go ahead, bro.
Oh, no. I was just agreeing with you. My bad for cutting you off.
You good, man. Go ahead, rock out.
If somebody gets fired all the time, that's a red flag. Especially a quarterback, man. Like, that means that, that's like JT Daniels, who I'm sure is a good kid, but you can't, it's hard trusting somebody who's never in one place for very long. It's the reason why, shout out to the young man. I'm sure he's going to be a great athlete, but Eli Ricks skipped town on LSU when they needed him. Like, these coaches are not slow. They trust me. They want you on the team, but they understand what kind of person you are. That's like Eli Ricks and another guy who was an undrafted free agent, because teams can't rely on you. And as you were saying before, a lot of times with these 4 and 5 star kids, people look at their talent but not the person. And what these HBCU recruits need to understand is you got to talk to the person, not the talent. Forget about them being a 4 and 5 star athlete. Get to know the athlete and come to understand why they might want to go to a Power 5 school, and then try to reassure them that going to an HBCU, at the very least, they'll have maybe not the same exact experience, but they'll be protected the same way. They'll be coached and given the same amount of training that an FBS school can give them.
Yeah, one thing I'm a big proponent for is just understanding the whole scale of everything, because it's so easy to just aggregate your feelings and then just like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's what it is. Oh, yeah, Coach Prime did this. Oh, yeah, well, Josh State did this. Oh, Southern did this. Cool. No problem. But when you understand the totality of everything, you get a better scope of like what everything is as far as how it applies to the next level, how it applies to like just kids just not having to transfer because they're comfortable in the program. So sure. I say it all the time, like the transfer portal is a great equalizer, because I've seen situations as a coach and a player where a person who necessarily not doing a bad job, but the coach is like, yeah, I don't like this kid. He sucks, in my opinion. Marginalize him in that capacity. So in that case, I'm cool with a player being protected in that capacity. But I've also seen cases where players who just are not in, they got their own agendas, and the coach has to keep them because, you don't want to. What's the thing called? The God dog it. When you have too much turnover in your program, it'll affect your little overall score. I forget the name of it right now, but it was a chicken
as well. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, man, it was a check and balance in that capacity. So it's almost like two masters are always been served with that. So I've always empathized or sympathized with the players and the coaches in that capacity. But now I'm sure that the API score is what I'm saying.
API score, right.
Yeah. So I'm sure that now that's definitely been negated now because players can leave with impunity now. So it's not a big, what I'm saying? Like there's no way you can hold a coach to that anymore. So I understand both sides of the coin. So with these things, it's almost like it's brand new territory. We don't really know what this is all the way. And so it's just interesting to observe. And so to hear Prime say, more guys should have been drafted. I understand that he's talking from a love standpoint because every coach loves well, not every coach, but most coaches love their old players. Even if they go to a different program, like, okay, well, listen, I had hands on this guy. Because it's, let's just say they don't love the player. It's a good talking point, like, yo, I had hands on this player. So, yeah, I'm this guy. So if you want a player, I can develop them even if they leave. But also, it's also, a standpoint where if you don't want to give them credit for that, you got to respect the process. Like, okay, this kid has, the autonomy to go move on somewhere else and thrive and grow. So if we understand both sides of the coin and just appreciate the whole process that is, the new, not NIL, but the whole transfer portal scenario, we ultimately what I'm saying is you got to take the good with the bad.
It's the process, not the product. A wise
there
man
you go.
said. But that was the human side of Deion coming out. Deion, Prime is the character, but the person is Deion Sanders, and that was the human side of Deion come out because I think he generally loved those young men at Jackson. I think that Deion Sanders gets a bad rap because he's the picturesque, talented 10th black man. He's the type of black man that represents a man who's very self-accountable. He's also a man who's very he thinks very highly of himself. Mm-hmm. He also doesn't make any excuses about things. Deion lost back-to-back Celebration Bowls, and he made no excuses about it. He took full accountability why his team lost both games. Which that showed me the kid. I got Deion Sanders at the end of his career, and I got the character, but I never knew Deion Sanders to be such a very Eddie Robinson-like person as far as his personality. I never knew him to be such a Bobby Bowden type guy, like very accountable. But what I want people to understand is that Deion Sanders, what he did at Jackson State, and I'm going to keep beating this until I can't beat no more. What he did at Jackson State is no different than what a lot of coaches do. I mentioned it before. Jay Hopson was the head coach of Alcorn State back from 2013 to 2015. And he was a white man that coached Alcorn State to two HBCU titles. He left Alcorn State at the end after the Celebration Bowl, and no one complained about it. And the point I'm trying to make is this: Deion didn't leave Jackson. He might have left the institution, and people on the outside looking in are saying this, that, and the third. But the players there, they're still super loyal to Deion. And all Deion wants is for these young kids who go to these small schools to get a fair chance. That's all Deion wants. That's all Deion wants. That's all of us wants, man. Like, a lot of these kids go to HBCUs. They're no different than the kids who play at LSU and Alabama. A lot of them from the hood, man. But the only difference is they're not going to get the same NIL opportunities as a lot of other people do. They're not going to get paid to go to school like other people do. A lot of these guys, unfortunately, they don't make no more money than the average college student. And all Dion wants to do is see these guys who sacrifice their bodies for partial scholarships at an HBCU make it out the hood. That's all Dion wants to see, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and let me say this. Shout out to No Guarantees, man. Say really content. Yeah, man, listen, man. Whether we 1 or 100 deep, I've had streams, 3,000 people on it actively listen to me, and right now we got 4. No big deal. I'm gonna give you some real shit that, let's say, God forbid, I perish. You can go back and listen to my shit like, okay, who was talking about something? Like I had my stream with Malik Rose 2 days ago. Malik Rose can give game that most of y'all have never even known and forgotten. Around 100 views. It's okay. I'm not moved by that. I want y'all to soak up some game and hear something real from a real perspective and take something from it. Because a lot of people, in my opinion, just give you like fodder. And by fodder, I mean just a quick take and just a nice aesthetically pleasing video and just throw it out there. It's sometimes not even an aesthetically pleasing video. It's just a hot take. I hope y'all appreciate over here. I'm not going to tell you no BS, and I don't bring up people who going to tell you some BS. That's why with B, he come up here, I'm going to let him speak his mind because he's shown that he knows what he's speaking about. I'm not going to let people just talk about some stupid stuff and just have y'all have fodder. And then now you're in this space where you're just trying to kind of parse it out from there. Because, I mean, we all know how these HBCU spaces can be, or sports spaces for that matter, in general.
A lot of emotions.
Huh?
A lot of emotions in these HBCUs.
A lot of emotionality, absolutely. So I try to stray away from that and just give you something that you can take from it, something you can digest, make your own inferences, and go from there. That's what I try to do over here. So I appreciate No Guarantees. I appreciate your contribution to the stream because I really try to give y'all that every time. That's why I don't go live all the time, because I'm like, if I'm not passionate about it, I'm not gonna go because I ain't got nothing to say. So let me put that as we go forward, so as we land the plane on the show.
I'll leave you with this, man. I love people, and I don't want people to be ignorant. I want people to understand the landscape of what's going on. I don't want people to punish these athletes for not making to the NFL and understand that even the kids who go to the biggest schools in the entire FBS, most of them don't get drafted anywhere higher than the 7th round. So what I want people to understand is the fact that these young men, just the fact that they even got a chance to go to the combine, is a win for HBCUs.
Absolutely.
And what I want people to understand is this: HBCUs, even as corrupt as a lot of them are, they know they got to get their stuff together. And there's good people working at these schools who understand that there's something's got to be done. There's too many good kids, not just good athletes, but good kids who play for these schools who they deserve to be in the NFL. Mm-hmm. They'll bring a fire and a passion to a locker room that even a kid from even the most All-American, even a Heisman Trophy winner couldn't bring the kind of fire some of these kids can bring. But I just want people to understand that, God is able, man. And, I just want all people to also understand this, man. I know HBCUs have been around longer than my grandfather's been alive, but just be patient, man. And understand things will get better, and it's going to take somebody rising up and saying, you know what, this is the model we got to follow. Because it's not just about doing what the white schools are doing. We got to just follow the right way. You know what I'm saying? There's a right way of doing things. And, we see every day with these other FCS schools, man. They don't have that much more money than we do. We just got to be consistent in our model. But it's always good being on these platforms, man, because I'm not the biggest speaker in the world. I tend to kind of operate from the shadows a little bit. I'm just somebody who, I'm not really a limelight kind of guy, but when I come on these platforms, I can kind of just speak through experience. It's good, man. It's good to be able to talk to not only like-minded people, but intelligent people.
Salute, man. I appreciate that, man. And I'll crystallize it this way. what you're saying is kind of how Indian people roll. How they have their own infrastructure, which we call Bollywood.
Yes, sir.
And people laugh at Bollywood, but Bollywood generates income within their own infrastructure. And if
billions, by the way.
Billions in their own infrastructure. And then when we as Black folks can kind of start to latch on to that concept more fervently, you'd be surprised the results that we can produce going forward. Because listen, man, nobody would like our stuff like our own stuff. And I'll say this too. Shout out to Mieg Mike for being a great comment. Yeah, man. I love Mieg Mike. Man, a cat I met yesterday, man. I'm gonna play his song as we transition out. Brother name is Ronnie Hudson. You know who that is?
Never heard of him. Where he from?
He's from California. That's where I live. He has a song that was the precursor. So if you watch the movie Snowfall, episode 1, the song they played, and it is the precursor of one of Dr. Dre's biggest songs. So I'm gonna play it real quick as we ride it out. I'm play it real quick. So he is a guy I connected with, man. He rocks with what I do. Him and his girlfriend. He has a younger girl. His girl like 50. But he's old as shit. But it's just he has a song right here. It's gonna play. In the city.
Oh.
Yeah. In the city.
Oh, okay.
You know what's in the city of Compton. So we all know that, but we didn't know that. I know that dude personally. You know what I'm saying? As of yesterday.
Oh.
Huh?
That's dope. That was awesome.
Yeah. So the connections are beautiful, man, amongst us melanated folks, man. So I'll drop this as we depart. Listen to the audience, ladies and gentlemen. Man, listen, man. When you have an ability to connect with someone who is likely you from a like-minded standpoint, or from a melanated standpoint, connect, man. Build. And get to a point where you can get to a standpoint where you can go forward, man. And dude, him and his lady, I'm in sales, so that they purchased from me, and he was just super enamored of what I am and what I do. And I made that connection. He's like, man, I wrote that song, California Pop Locking, West Coast Pop Locking. I was like, oh, that's the one from like California Love. I was like, damn.
90s. I wasn't born when that song was made.
Yeah, so it was made in 82. I was born in 83. So that I say all that to say, listen, man, connect with your people, do right by your people, and let us build and let us grow. I'll leave y'all with that. Brian, before we peace out.
God bless y'all. And go Jags.
Oh man, okay. Go Panthers. Let me say that.
See you at homecoming.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you so much, man. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Hoop Jargon, we are out. Peace.